I want to give a big voice to Kurds today, as you'll probably have gathered. And I was at a meeting last week in London with Ilham Ehmed, who is from the Syrian Democratic Council that I mentioned earlier. She's the international negotiator at the moment, and she'd come to talk to the British government and was going over to America and various other places. So if you bear with me, she spoke through an interpreter, and the whole speech is on SoundCloud, which you'll find on that link. As I say, I can make this available to you later if you want to. But just bear with me while I read to you what she said. Thank you very much for this opportunity so that we can have a discussion or talk about the developments in northern Syria. The whole of Syria has been in crisis for about 8 years. And within this deep crisis in northeast Syria, we have been able to develop an alternative project. We embarked on a project of justice and equality of all peoples of the region, Kurds, Arabs, Assyrians, Syriacs, and so on, and also equality between men and women. And we've been carrying out this project for some time now. It's a project that can be an alternative to the centralised Syrian regime. Also, as the Syrian Democratic Council and Autonomous Administration, what we've been working towards and what our efforts have been towards making this a project for the whole of Syria. But the forces that we have been allied with and fought ISIS with did not support us politically. Since 2014, we've worked with the International Coalition Against ISIS, and throughout this, we lost 11,000 fighters and 25,000 wounded and veterans in this fight. If many of these countries that we speak of are not in a different state right now or a different position in terms of the threat from ISIS, it's because of our fight against ISIS. Our hope was and is for political acceptance and political recognition, and for us to have a seat at the Geneva negotiations, for us to be able to have an effect on changing the regime or transforming the regime, and also to have an effect on changing the system. No countries or states help us in this. And as long as Turkey has a veto in this, there's nothing we can do. And due to the threat of Turkey, many countries and states have taken steps back, and this is obviously a very big danger and threat in general. The Turkish state threatens and essentially scares many of these other countries with terror, and again today they made a statement saying they're going to let go or release the ISIS members that they have. They did not release or hand over the names of these people or where they'll be released, or where they will release them, that they've just said that they would release them. And this is once again what they're using to threaten the world. When Turkey decided to attack us, the US decided to withdraw and essentially back off as a result of a phone call between Trump and Erdogan. And they also opened the airspace to Turkey entirely for them, with their jihadi allies, the jihadi groups on the ground to commit crimes against humanity and to attack and kill civilians. The reason why Erdogan insists on these attacks and what he's trying to carry out is because he's against the system we've created, which is about the freedom of women, the equality of peoples, peaceful coexistence, freedom of religious expression, and Erdogan is against all of these, and that's why he continues to attack us. The project we're trying to carry out or implement or encourage in Syria and in the Middle East is a secular project that there is the ability to be in discussion and work together with the international community and the West with. A project that we can also engage in negotiations internationally. But what Turkey has become is a radical Islamist country, in which Erdogan has appointed himself as the Khalif. On Muhammad's birthday, Erdogan announced in one of the military camps that he has now named it the Camp of Prophet Muhammad. What needs to happen is that all the countries that have allied or worked with Turkey until now must look at their relationship with Turkey, must observe what's happening and understand that Turkey under Erdogan has become an ISIS state. And if they continue to work with Turkey, that is what they will be working with. Because many of these international countries that defend or support democracy have separated or not allowed us to be involved in political discussions or coming to a political solution, that has forced us to engage in talks and negotiations with the Assad regime, and this has no guarantee. That's why when we talk, we go and engage in talks in Britain, France, Sweden, US, many of the countries that are coalition members. We say the support we want is for us to be supported in being involved in the political process of political solution. Now, when they sit in Geneva to discuss within the Constitutional Committee for the new constitution of Syria, one side is the regime, the other side is members of these jihadi groups. And allowing these to be the sides, it means there's a level of acceptance or authorization of the chauvinism of the regime and the membership of jihadi groups. The support that will be shown to us or given to us by the international community or the people of these countries would be deeply appreciated at this time. We know right now that the people who support us, the people who stand with us, will be standing with the right way in what needs to be done right now. And many of these international states and countries, their positions, their stances are not very clear. They have quite weak positions because they still operate within a framework of not wanting to lose Turkey. But we can say 100% that Turkey has already been lost. Whichever capacity or criteria we look at Turkey, whether it's human rights and there's no human rights in Turkey, whatever law, but there's no law in Turkey, if there is a country that says about releasing ISIS members that will release them and they can go wherever they want, they can kill whoever they want, a country that plays on or uses refugees as blackmail, when they say if you don't give us this amount of money, financial support, we will open the gates, as Erdogan says, then they will become your problem and not our problem. There is no criteria or level of morality that we can actually even judge Turkey on. What we have been asking for from these international countries like Britain is weak for the terror corridor, that doesn't quite make sense, is for the terror corridor that the Turkish state has opened to be closed. The terror corridor between Giresun and Sarıkanye that they have opened, where they're essentially allowing a free passage for ISIS members again to threaten and scare the community. What we're asking for is an international force to be deployed there and function there and essentially close this corridor. And for the continued fight against ISIS, our secular project must be supported, as well as for the region, but also for the continuing fight against ISIS. And it's something that's quite open and clear, the necessity for Turkey to be tried internationally and for all of those international countries to have a clear stance against Turkey. Now, I know that this is a Quaker meeting and we don't, Quakers are a very peaceful organisation. I think for me, the important thing there is that the Kurds are trying to get into international discussions and they're not being allowed to. And that's the essential bit of what they're being asked, what they're asking us to think about. Tevden is also talking about the same sort of things, but is particularly interested in calling upon the United Nations and human rights organisations to fulfil their legal and humanitarian duties to stop Turkey's attacks against northern eastern Syrian territory, and to bring the Turkish state to account for its violation of international laws and values. When I had some communication with Salah Muslim, he was saying particularly that we need to use the structures that we have to make Turkey accountable for what it's doing. I'm going to play you a video and then we're going to hand over to some live people in the studio. This is Jiyan. Jiyan was going to come, but
thank you for giving me
she's in Huddersfield.
My name is Jiyan Khalaf and I moved to the UK in 1999 along with my family. It was my mum and my two brothers. So when we first moved, it was quite hard to leave everybody behind. But being a Kurd, it's never, it's always, it's harder being there, so we had to leave. Anyway, I'm glad that I moved. I'm actually one of the many lucky ones that got the opportunity to move to England and, had the opportunity to study and find a career. And I've done extremely, well, I would like to say extremely well. And that's thanks to being here. A few weeks ago, in October, I spoke to my family back in Rojava, and it was just when the Turks started their attack on northeast Syria. I spoke to my family and were like, is there anything we could do? They were very, very upset. They were actually scared, terrified. One, that, they don't know what's going to happen. Two, is the uncertainty of the whole situation, like who's going to take control, will it be Turks, will it be the regime? No matter who it's going to be, it's scary. And in the last 5-6 years, the area, they have lost loads of martyrs. At least 20,000 people have died in this ugly war. So yeah, I spoke to my family and I asked them, I was like, is there anything I could do? Just please tell me. And they were like, the more, you know, what you could do now, like we are stuck here, but please make our voice heard. And, you know, we've been to a few demonstrations and all that, but I don't know how much more we could do. I think each individual of us, what we could ask our MPs or our government to do here in the UK is, one, is to put pressure on the government by telling them to stop armed deals with Turkey, which is using weapons against civilians and supplying ISIS and other radical Islamist groups, such as the National Syrian Army. To support the right of the Kurds for a self-determination in the new Syrian constitution, and play a role in the new political solution for the conflict in Syria. 3, hold the Turkish government accountable for its war crimes as the public execution of Jiyan Khalaf and other civilians, the humiliation of the YPG fighter's body, and the use of white phosphorus in Serikani. That's 9. Call on Turkey to withdraw from Syria and especially Afrin, where the remains bodies of the British YPG fighters, Anna Campbell, who got killed by a Turkish airstrike, are still there. Guarantee the return of the 300,000 people who fled from the area between Tel Abyad and Serikani. Immediate send humanitarian aid to the displaced people in northeast Syria. Support the local security forces to ensure that ISIS doesn't come back, which had already gained power after the Turkish invasion. Finally, support the establishment of an international court in northeast Syria for the 10,000 ISIS members in the SDF prisons. Also, if people would like to help through humanitarian groups, we have got Heibaso, which is the only group who is now supplying medical aid in northeast Syria. The borders are open, so if there are any organisations that are willing to enter, they are always welcomed. I would like to thank you all for listening to me, and hopefully we could do something from our ends. Thank you. Right. Hello everyone, thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak. My name is Jiyan Khalaf and I moved